just, you don't always have to be what you think people want you to be. It's just trying to find something that's a bit unique, a bit clever.
I'm Becca Pountney, wedding business marketing expert, strategist, speaker, and author. Over the last decade, I've combined my love of marketing with my knowledge of the wedding industry to help thousands of wedding pros and venues just like you learn new skills, strategize, get re-energized, and grow their businesses. Because after all, that's how you stay top of your game. Whether you're brand new into this industry or been here forever, I want to help. So grab a cup of tea or a cocktail, sit back and enjoy a brand new episode of my award-winning podcast, Wedding Pros Who Are Ready to Grow. Let's get going with today's episode. Today, I'm joined by Georgie, founder of Georgina Rose Events, wedding planner, podcaster behind The Secret Society of Brides, author of It's Your Wedding, and you may also have seen her content on TikTok. Today, I'm looking forward to finding out more about her, the highs and lows of going viral on TikTok, and what's actually working in her wedding business right now. Georgie, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm so pleased to have you on the podcast. I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation and, to be honest, just finding a little bit more about you, about your business, about your journey. So I like to take people back to the start on this podcast. I want to know about your career early on before you started wedding planning. Like, what did you do? Were you always in weddings, or did you have another career previous to that?
I have tried a few things. I am a worker. I like working. So I've always, so from the age of like 14, probably illegal, but had about 3 jobs going on, waitressing, like anything and everything. I then went to university to study event management because I figured out that weddings was kind of what I wanted to do. Someone had said to me, you'd be a great event manager. And the second they said it, I was like, oh my God, I would be a great event manager. And that was kind of set. My dad was furious. Before that, I wanted to be a barrister. And he was like, oh, so cool. And then I was like, oh, I want to be a wedding planner. So went to university, lasted there about 3 months. Wasn't for me. Had just met a new boyfriend who I then married. So it's okay. But met a boyfriend, didn't want to be away from him, left uni, did just any jobs I could, and then bought an online wedding planning course, as we do, and used that to get my first kind of wedding job, which was working, where was that? Oh, at a golf club. I was a part-time wedding planner, part-time bartender. So it was obviously as glamorous as it sounds. I then used that to get a job at a venue, then found out I was pregnant. That was not planned, but she's wonderful, so totally worth it. Loved that. Thought then I really liked kids, so worked in a nursery, realised I actually hate kids. I just like my own child, so got that out of my system, and then went back to work for a wedding catering company. And that's kind of where I'd worked for them when I was 14, waitressing at weddings. So it's kind of a full circle moment. Started working with them, kind of helped build up the business, kind of was the younger one that was doing all the socials and the website and things like that. And then it just got to a point where my daughter was at school, so I had a bit more time to do everything. And I started a social media business as a side hustle just to get some money. That grew enough because I had a child. I didn't earn a lot of money. So it was actually perfect timing that to start a business doing weddings, I just had to earn more than nothing. So no matter what, it was going to be successful. So that kind of got me up until the point of starting a business. So always weddings, but not planning.
So it's been a little bit all over the place then, really, from the idea of becoming a barrister. Now, I feel like we all went through that phase. I went through a phase of I'm going to do law at university because I loved watching Legally Blonde. Then I also went and did a television degree, which was completely opposite. So we've all gone through that little bit of thinking we're going to do
finding ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And then realizing actually that isn't fun. We want to do something else. But the nursery thing, that was very left field. I can't think of anything. I always say this, people who are teachers, people who work in nurseries, I don't know how they do it. I have 2 children. I can just about cope with them. Other people's children, I couldn't do it. So you found your way back to weddings eventually.
I really loved the mum bit, and I was really good at like the creative stuff. And even in lockdown, when obviously there was no weddings, I homeschooled my daughter when we had to. And I was like, I love this. I'm so good at this. Like, this is the best thing. I themed every day. Like, we would pull something out of the hat and it would be like circus. So all the lessons were circus themed. We'd dress up circus themed. Lunch was circus. And I've just realized if it's not for my kid, I don't want to do it.
Fair enough. So you had your social media business. So at what point did you think, right, I'm just going to do a wedding planning business now?
My husband had told me the whole time to start a business, and I'm not very business. I wasn't very business. I never really wanted to start my own business. I'd never thought about it. I don't really know anyone who's got their own business. So I wasn't in that world. And then the social media, I say social media business, it was literally doing some socials for some small businesses. It was very low key. And basically, I used to earn about £1,000 a month. When the social media business got to earning over £1,000 a month, I quit the catering job and just went for it. And that was January 2020. And we all know what then came next. But it was in hindsight, it was all fantastic timing, because I then did a bit more of the social media business, grew that to the point where my husband then came to join all of the businesses, and we've just then gone hard ever since, basically.
I love that. Okay, so you had the social media business. So at what point did Georgina Rose Events become born? Or was that all part of the same thing?
So that was January 20. I started the social media business probably in the September 2019, had a few months getting it to the point where I earned over £1,000, quit the job. 1st of January 2020, started it and was like, yay, I'm going to do amazing. And then 3 months later, no weddings.
Absolutely. Okay. So it wasn't the ideal time to start a business, or maybe it was, because we never really know what would have been. It's the sliding doors moment. What did you do come March 2020 when you've got this idea you're going to go start doing weddings, and weddings now stop? What was your strategy? Were you panicked? Were you calm? Did you just go all in?
I had actually done one wedding on like the 18th of March. So somewhere around, whenever lockdown was, I did a friend in the industry's wedding, and it went from being 120 people in a church to 5 people in a massive church. It was glorious and horrific all at the same time, because it was such a moment. But I then still had the social media business, so was doing bits of that. I was homeschooling my daughter, but then the weddings, first of all, I've always had the mindset of like, what's the worst that can happen? So the worst thing arguably did happen. I just did other work. Like, I just earned money elsewhere. And if I ever needed to, I would go and get a job somewhere. It's not, I have that mindset of leap and the net shall appear. We'll risk it. What's going to happen? And again, because we were poor, I didn't really have to earn a lot. But what I did do is TikTok. I did socials. I'm not somebody who likes to use other people's content. So I think a lot of people were using other suppliers' content and kind of, it was back when it was more like posting pictures and then talking about the picture kind of thing. I just was like, I'm just gonna make my own content. I know loads of stuff from working in catering, in venues. Like, I'd earned my stripes in the wedding industry. I just didn't have anything to show for myself. So I just tried the TikTok, and thank God I did.
And really, you're quite an early adopter of TikTok, because back in 2020, not many people, especially in the wedding industry, were using it. So, I mean, kudos to you for diving in and deciding to go for it. What did that early content look like? Because we were in a pandemic, you hadn't done any weddings. So what were you actually posting on TikTok?
It was back when it was, first of all, I never danced on there. So I didn't sell my soul entirely. But what the content was at that time was voice clips from songs or films or TV shows or something. I would then mime them and then put something wedding related over it. So I'm trying to think of ones. Like, there was a clip from the Friends episode where she's saying about being loud and being blah, and I was then doing it with my daughter, being like, you can't come to the wedding because you're a child and you're loud. So it was like, it was all very funny. It was very shareable content. It helped me get followers, which then helped later on. But at the time, it wasn't getting me bookings, because obviously first of all, there was no weddings, and it wasn't the type of content where you'd be like, oh my God, she's great, I'm going to book her to run my wedding. It was just get myself out there. And it got me really comfortable with talking to the camera, being on the camera. I did a song at one point, which I don't recommend finding, but like, it was kind of anything and everything to just keep posting videos. And it was at the time when TikTok was wonderful, and just sent it to loads of people, and very short clips. It wasn't very tip heavy. It was more just entertaining.
So really, in some ways, you're in the perfect position because there was no weddings. It didn't actually matter. You were starting at the beginning, so you didn't have this big income that you were losing. You knew that you only had to earn a small amount. And so actually, it kind of gave you that freedom to be creative, to give things a try, to dive all in. And like you said, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I also had space when other people couldn't. I had all the availability in the world. So unfortunately, other coordinators and planners couldn't do the change of date. I'm free. I'm available, and I'm really cheap because I've just started.
Okay, so talk to me about that transition then. So once weddings did start coming back, you're still very early on. How did you get those first clients? Were they just because you were available? Were they through referrals? Were they through the stuff you were doing on TikTok?
I think it was spread across all of that. I think I was definitely my Instagram was doing well, and I had built a lot of connections I'd been in the industry for maybe 10 years, nearly coming up 10 years by the time that I started my business. So I already knew photographers, jewelers, venues. I did a lot of coordinating at some venues that I'd previously worked at before. It was kind of I'm under the impression, like when you start a business, just yes to everything. I was literally yes to all of it. So I definitely remember getting my first website inquiry and being like, oh my God, like this is actually real. But yeah, I think that first year, I think maybe in 2021, I did about 25 weddings. And then come 2022, I did 95 weddings. So it was definitely socials that did that bit.
And so when you say you did that many weddings, were you doing on the day coordination? Was that full plans, or was it a mixture of everything?
Mixture of everything. Majority of them. So 2022, I did 95 weddings. I think 10 of them were full planning. I do a middle package, so a group of them were that. And then I also got married that year. So that was a difficult year. That was 95 that I went to personally and ran. Whereas now I've built my team up, I do less than that. But yeah, that was a challenging year.
So when you say you're a worker, you really are a worker. You don't make it easy for yourself. You sound like you've thrown yourself all in. So in the background, you're still going with this TikTok stuff. So at what point did that start actually making a difference, start reaching a lot of people? What was your moment where you started thinking, this is really working for me?
Honestly, straight away, in terms of getting followers, straight away. 2021 was probably the year where I actually had physical bookings and I could see that they were coming from TikTok. The thing with TikTok, all socials, is that TikTok showed me to people who then came and found my Instagram and they got to know me. And then it came to the point when I was then a bit of social proof of, look, I actually do weddings. I'm at weddings. That was when it then kind of came from socials and turned into bookings. So it was good straight off the bat. Again, I don't think many people were doing it. I still don't think enough wedding suppliers are doing it. It's a massive market. I feel quite bad because I'm just there taking all the apples because there's no one else going for it. So I think there was a bit of a gap in the market that I found quite quickly and have just gone with it and not stopped.
And you're right, there isn't enough people on there. It's a huge gap still. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people are scared of the platform?
I think people aren't willing to go and use TikTok as a person, not as a business. Go and see that it's not just dancing teenagers and it's not doom and gloom. Like when it learns your algorithm, it is a fantastic social media. Like it's so educational, so fun, so enjoyable. So I would say like people aren't trying it first. And then I think it's a little bit of not sure what to do, not sure what to post, and just scared to put their face on there. But most of us are service-led businesses. They want to know who the person is that's running it. And I feel very strongly about TikTok being such a benefit to businesses, but they book there's nothing you can do wrong on there, apart from maybe, like I say that with a pinch of salt, but you can have a personality. Like I've really found that I think the reason that Georgina Rose Events does so well is because we're just honest. It's just fun. It doesn't have to be super professional. It doesn't have to be super polished. If anything, the more real the content is on TikTok, the better it'll do. So I think people are overthinking TikTok.
Yeah, and I think as well, because a lot of these wedding businesses have been their business has been raised in this era of Instagram perfection and having this perfect grid and having this perfect look. And we know that Instagram, even now, you shouldn't be like that. But that's kind of the mindset people are still set in. And I think so when they move to TikTok, they just can't let go of that. They can't let go of that. Everything needs to look perfect. What do you say to them to encourage them?
I think, again, it goes back to that using the socials. If you use it, you'll see that there isn't polished stuff on there. And I always say to like videographers, if you put on a video from a wedding, it will do nothing. Respectfully, nobody cares about that whole video because it's not their wedding day. They don't know the people. They don't care. If you just did a very specific part of it, like one clip from the speeches or her walking down the aisle or just the flowers, that would always do so much better on there because it's a bit more specific, a bit more real. It's thinking about what you've got 3 seconds, basically. There are so many videos. There is so much content that if you don't get them in that first 3 seconds, there's no point putting the video. So if you do a nice drone shot down into the thing, just nobody cares. We want something controversial. We want a question. We need a hook. And it's once you learn that bit, you'll realize that you can post anything you want on TikTok. You just got to get the first 3 seconds right. And then it's fine. But also 200 people is still a lot of people to see a video. You compare it to big numbers, but that's 200 people that didn't see it because they're not following you. I think that's the bit that businesses forget as well, is that Instagram is for your followers and your family and your friends, and it's all they're going to be nice to you. TikTok goes out first to people that aren't following you, for the people that TikTok think will like the video they don't need to have seen you before or anything like that. So you going out to a whole new group of people, so 200 totally new people versus maybe 900 on Instagram, but they're already following you. So if they were going to book you, they already know about you anyway. TikTok is a little golden nugget that everyone should be going for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because Instagram is now copying the TikTok algorithm. So now when you put a reel on Instagram, it is actually going out mostly to people that don't follow you to start with. So I've been using an example of my sister. She started her very first business. I'm very proud of her, so I keep talking about her, but she started her very first business recently as a personal trainer, and she posted a reel because I told her that's what she needs to do on Instagram, and she had 30 followers, but the reel reached 1,000 people, which shows it's going the way of TikTok. So
100%.
Whether we're on TikTok, whether we're on Instagram, we've got to get used to, in 2026, it's messy action, it's video content, it's personality, it's being authentically you. And I think that's the piece that people need to just let go a little bit, everyone. Just be yourselves. You're the thing that makes your business different. So stop trying to look like everyone else and be you. Now, we cannot do this conversation without talking about your big viral moment. And we both know that it's not all about going viral. As you just said, 200 followers is a lot of people. 200 people seeing a video is 200 new people. But you did have a viral moment because you went on a massive podcast. So tell us the story. Tell us about how that happened, how they found you. Did you think it was real? Did you think it was fake? Tell us the whole story.
So I was working a wedding, shockingly, obviously, because I was doing 95 that year, and had a message from the Newlyweds podcast. I hadn't really listened to it this is awful. I'm not a huge podcast person, despite being on them, doing them. Like I don't get time to listen to podcasts is my actual excuse. So when they messaged, I was like, oh, okay, let me research who it is first. Obviously knew it was Jamie and Sophie, obviously knew that they were pretty famous, obviously looked at the numbers on the stats and things like that. So they messaged and said they do a little feature on the podcast, which is like a tip or something like that. And they just need a little something so that they can help people get married. I was like, yeah, cool, I'll do that. I'm again, yes to everything. They said you can either do it on Zoom or you can come in, like you'd have to sort yourself out, get to London. I was like, I'll come in. I'll only do it if I can come in. And I always find this one a bit difficult because people always tell me how lucky I am for that. And it annoys me because first of all, they found me from my TikToks. I wasn't a random that they thought she'd be nice. Like they found the content I was making. I made the decision to go because I knew that would work a lot better. And then I spent the entire night before trying to come up with a tip that would go viral. Like that was the point. It was supposed to be funny. I did make a mistake on it, which I think I'll come back to, but that also helped it go viral. So yeah, I wrote a tip that it was blow me. So blow me is what to remember the morning of your wedding. So like bouquet out of water, Lady God, I haven't gone through that in forever. But I knew that because of the style of their podcast, it would work well. I knew what their reaction would be if I told her to say blow me the morning of the wedding, like all stuff like that. So that's why the luck bit always annoys me because I'm like, hang on. I'd like a bit of credit for it. So I went in, did the tip. I accidentally said it was an anagram, not an acronym. So when I said that then got a load of people commenting being like, I still forget which way around it is. It's an acronym, not an anagram, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, I'm a wedding planner. I'm not a teacher. I don't know what I'm doing. But that clip did, I think, 17 million, something like that. So that definitely helped the followers and definitely helped kind of put me in my position. I was the blow me girl for quite a while, which my dad was very confused and proud of at the same time.
And I think your point about luck is a really important one. And I want to just spend a couple of moments talking about that, because you're absolutely right. There is no luck in it. And I think we make our own luck, actually. And, you know, I get it all the time. People say, oh, you're so lucky to have these opportunities. And my answer is, you haven't seen the 10 years that have come up to this point. You haven't seen the work. You haven't seen the mindset that's gone into it. You haven't seen all of that. There is no luck. And actually, there's a lot along the way in that story where I think it's just marketing genius. That's not luck. That's you really thinking this through. Number one, taking the opportunity. Actually, before number one, taking the opportunity, number one, putting yourself out there on TikTok when nobody else was and being brave enough to show up. Number two, when someone contacts you, taking the opportunity. Number three, not taking the lazy option and just doing it on Zoom and taking time, money, expense to go there and do it in person. But number four, the marketing genius to not just turn up with a boring wedding tip, which would have been easy to do. You could have just gone, you should put your bouquet in what, it would have been boring, but something in you told you, I've got to make the most of this opportunity. Like, talk me through that part. That's the bit that I think is really exciting. And I think that's what makes you genius, not lucky. How did you even come up with that?
I have always been, I'm going to use the word creative, but I don't think it is that. I always have had to be different. It has always been within me that if I'm doing something, it has to be the best or the craziest, or even I remember doing a book report at school, and it was starting in year 7. So it was the first piece of work that we were kind of doing, and it was a competition, and you got given a book and you had to write a book report. And I was writing it and I was like, this book is shit. Like, I'm not enjoying this whatsoever. So I wrote a book report about how bad the book was and then won the whole thing. So it's like, you don't always have to be what you think people want you to be. It's just trying to find something that's a bit unique, a bit clever. So I don't know. I remember being sat at my friend's house and I was writing down all the things that I wanted people to do the morning of the wedding, and then was just trying to move the letters around to make it something. And when I got blow, I was like, by God. So I think the E for blow me stands for energy or something. That's not a great tip, but it worked for the clip. And I knew that they'd clip that down. I maybe didn't know it'd go as well as that, but I think it was the most viral video they'd had. So that for me is a nice. And then I got invited back onto the podcast to do some more stuff. So it was definitely a catalyst. But again, I do believe that it wasn't the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, I like the idea of luck, but is it luck is opportunity meets planning, something like that. I just don't believe in luck.
Yeah. Well, I think you would have absolutely still found success, but I think it's a great talking point. It's a great story, and it probably just kind of sent you on a trajectory quicker potentially than it would have done otherwise. I'm also interested, because I'm a marketing geek, I'm interested to know how you leveraged the opportunity other than what they were doing. So was there anything, you'd obviously gone, you'd done the podcast, you'd come up with the idea, they clipped it up. Were you doing anything your end, or were you just relying on what they were going to put out?
I documented the kind of build up of, I'm going somewhere today, I can't tell you where it is, come with me, like all of these kind of bits. I then posted a picture of them together. I also filmed them I had done a bit of content around a deep dip, like the kiss where you lean them all the way down. I got them to do this deep dip kiss. So I had that content. I also got them to do me a video basically saying how amazing I was. So I'd kind of got my own content ready. I was also then starting a podcast anyway, not long after. So I knew that it would, even if it didn't do amazingly well, people would still have listened to that podcast and found me because they share my stuff and things. So I knew that if I could get them over to my socials, I could then get people onto the new podcast that I had coming out, and it would all kind of just, I'm a bit of I like lots of streams. I like stuff to be able to come in from everywhere. So it's kind of looking at all these opportunities, but keeping my own things going as well. So I still kept creating content, and then obviously put blow me on everything.
And again, for anyone listening that's still thinking this is luck, there's some more marketing genius within this conversation, because again, a lot of people would have gone to that interview and they wouldn't have been brave enough to say, can you film this for me? Can I film this? They wouldn't have even thought to do the build-up content. I'm talking to people who are listening to this who aren't even doing something as exciting as that. I talk about it when you're nominated for an award. Like, are you planning your content? Are you thinking about the build-up content? Are you doing stuff on the day? Or are you literally just turning up and hoping hoping you'll win the award to make the content. And that's the difference between the people that find success and the people that stay stagnant. And I absolutely love all of the things that you did. You maximize that opportunity, and like, kudos to you, because it's worked and you've done really well out of it. So in terms of impact on the business then, because as we know, we can go viral, we can do all of those things, but bottom line, we're a business podcast. Do you think it had an impact in terms of finance on the business? Did you see bookings that you think were a direct result of the work you did around that?
Yeah, definitely. And I was definitely getting inquiries that were saying, saw you on the podcast, there was loads that were saying, saw you on the podcast. I think that followers are not more important, but I don't think people give followers enough credit, because a lot of people follow from something like that happening, an event, a piece of content, something viral, and they don't necessarily translate straight over to bookings. So the numbers that I then had on the podcast that I then started were really high straight off the bat. So I think that came from people that had followed me on there and wanted to hear more. They then turned into very loyal supporters that then got engaged and turned into bookings. So it was definitely I definitely saw a surge in followers. I definitely saw a surge in inquiries, and I definitely saw a surge in bookings. But I also think it was a slow build as well. I'll still get people saying to me, "Oh yeah, you were that girl on the Newlyweds podcast." So I think it helped me be able to. I'm trying to give myself the title of like the people's wedding planner. That's always been the aim, is to kind of be the Martin Lewis of weddings, or like the Mrs. Hinch of the wedding industry. That's my aim. And I think it was just another little tick in the box of like proof that I am on the right track to kind of do that. It then helped. I do things like digital downloads. The more followers you have, the more digital downloads I'm selling. It all kind of ties in together. So it absolutely turned into financial gain, as long as you have the stuff to sell and the products and the services. I guess that's the big bit.
Okay, so how did you then start to grow your team? Because presumably you talked about doing 95 weddings in a year. That's absolutely insane. I'm sure you wouldn't have been able to sustain that for a long time. So at what point in this journey, was it pre the podcast with Jamie Lang, or was it post the podcast where you started actually taking on other people? What's the process for growing that team?
That's a great question. When was that podcast? The problem is I don't know when the Newlyweds podcast was. I think it was 2022. It was before I got married, because I remember the second time I went on the podcast, it was just after I got married. So I imagine it was like mid 2022. I had started with a part-time employee. So my husband had joined the business. He doesn't do the weddings. He does like the admin, the finance, the everything boring that I don't want to do. It meant then I could focus on doing all those weddings that year. I had a part-time person, and I think I learned that if someone doesn't need the job, the kind of attitude is different. So I think we learned that quite quickly, and then got a full-time employee, I think at the end of 2023.
It's
should
okay.
really write down my business stats at some point.
We're all good.
Yeah, it was end of 2023. So we'd had part-time people. I'd had used a couple of freelancers. I'd learned a lot about employing people during that time and why certain things didn't work. So like we had some freelancers that would then use the content on their own socials. And I'm like, right, I need a better contract that says you're not allowed to do that. There were some freelancers then that just kind of let us down or didn't want to do the wedding anymore. And it's like, okay. So we kind of got to the point where it has to be a full-time employee who relies on this income. You can't not turn up to a wedding, because this is my name. This is literally my name on it. I can't send you to a wedding. And I built such a personal brand that I thought it would be really hard to get other people to do my weddings. And actually, it took a good year of like setbacks, being burnt, having to then pick up more weddings because the person who was meant to do them didn't. But I think I learned in a good way, humbled myself a little bit, that sometimes people, it's not just me they want my team, and they want the people that have been taught by me, and that hiring the right person is essential. Like it changes everything. And it definitely helps with this sort of trajectory of things. So now we do about 100 to 120 weddings a year, but I probably do about 40 to 50. So it means that I can then have more time to do things like this, or to do brand deals, or to do events, or to do my podcast. So I'm opening myself up to, I know I can earn more income. I can earn more income on a social media post that someone's paid for than I can go into a wedding. And that's really depressing at the same time as like, great. But I'm like, I don't want to stop doing weddings, but I also don't want to be doing 95 again when I could do 10 posts that take 1 hour as opposed to a 12-hour day for the same money.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. But you're still doing quite a lot of weddings. I thought you were going to say to me, I only do 5. So you're still involved in a lot. Is that because you don't want to let go? Is that because you absolutely love it? Is it because you think you have to? Or is it just, what are the reasons?
I love it. I do love it. I really love weddings. And I very much live by the make hay while the sun shines. Like I'm everything touch wood. It's all going really well right now. So just keep it going. Just keep the momentum. Like the thing is, I get the social content that I make, I get from clips being at weddings. I like being able to, I'm doing more like public speaking and teaching other wedding suppliers. I can't stand there and teach somebody something if I'm not doing it myself. And that always kind of not annoys me. That's not the right word. But sometimes there's people that make content or that do talks and things like that about on the day wedding stuff. And I'm like, you don't go to a wedding. You're not there on the day. Teach me about the bit that you know about as opposed to, so I just want to keep my foot in it. I love doing them. I think the good thing is that anything is less than 95. So yes, 40, 50 is still quite a lot of weddings, but not compared to 95. So I think the plan is to slowly get down to maybe like 30. And then I don't like being bored though. So if I will fill that time with other stuff. So I'll just keep making myself busier. It just might not be a wedding.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thought because you've got all this stuff going on. You've got a team that can do things. So yeah, how much do you stay in and how much do you stay out is the big question. I think it also comes back to an important marketing point that people often, there's this myth there that you can't call your wedding business your name because then you always have to be there. But actually, you've just shown us that's not necessarily true. Yes, people want you. Yes, they want your brand. But, when we go, I don't know, to Kate Spade, we don't expect her to sell us the bag. We just like the brand. And so I think sometimes we need to understand. Yeah, we're overthinking it. We absolutely can let go a little bit. And I also think we've got to talk about your educator point because I think it's a really interesting one because I think there's 2 sides to the coin and I hear both of them talks about a lot. One, people shouldn't talk and educate on things if they're not at the wedding day still. Absolutely agree with you. But on the other hand, I also think there's a lot of people that teach and educate who have done it and have been in weddings, but actually don't know a lot about business or they don't know a lot about what they're doing. And so then when they educate, all they're doing is telling people what they did, which actually from a higher perspective doesn't necessarily work. So I think on both ends of the spectrum, there are great educators and there are poor educators. And actually, I think the biggest message that I like to give people is just ask questions and find out who you're working with. Like ask them what they've done before, ask them who else they've worked with before, ask them what their experience is before. Because, for example, you may want to work with a lawyer who wants to help you with weddings, but that they don't necessarily need to have been in the wedding industry, but you could have a wedding supplier who says they'll help you write their contract that actually has no legal experience. So I just think it's an interesting point and one that I want to bang a drum about all the time because we all know that there's some really poor education out there and there's some really good education out there. Yes. And actually it's on the individuals to investigate and find that.
I think it's the individuals that are going to things, and I also think it's the hosts who are having people there should know the people that they're going to. But I think it's a bit of that, don't take advice from someone whose life you don't want. If I'm not going to you might be fantastic at this thing and people might be listening to me and I do a lot of weddings. Maybe you just want to be doing 5 weddings a year and just living maybe don't listen to me because I'm very go get more money, more weddings, more things. Like that is my kind of ethos of it. If you don't want that, maybe don't listen to the stuff I'm saying because you're allowed to have a different opinion on it. You're allowed, I'm sure we'll come onto this of the negatives of the socials and things like that. But this is my opinion. You don't have to take it. I'm just telling you that this is what I've done. This is what worked for me. This is my evidence of it. Up to you what you do with that information. You can don't, because obviously you won't be, if you don't like this podcast, turn off this podcast. You don't have to then get so annoyed about listening to it. It's so fun. There's a Ricky Gervais sketch where he's on about someone in the street that's got a leaflet for like guitar lessons. And someone's like, I don't want to play guitar. And he's like, all right, just don't take the leaflet. Just keep walking. Like nobody made you interact. You can just scroll. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all very English about these things, and we feel like we've just got to put ourselves through things that we don't necessarily want to because we think we have to. And I think actually this whole area, I mean, we could do a whole podcast itself about the area of education, but I think it's going to become even more complicated now with AI. So I had a person send me a sales page the other day, and they said, do you think I should buy X from X person? And I looked at the sales page and there was just something that was off about it. I just thought, I can't work out who's behind this. The person doesn't seem to be a real person. And then I ran it through my AI and it pulled out all the images of the testimonials. And it said the name of the images from the testimonials still had the word ChatGPT in it. And so basically the entire thing was fake. It was all made by AI, but it looked really legit, compelling, and it looks really exciting.
The socials, I think, is getting way more to that real bit, because people are getting so confused with AI and technology and stuff like that, that when they then go on TikTok and there's just a video going, hey guys, this is what I did at my wedding, this went wrong, it's just is a bit like, a person, a real life person that's just trying to say something, rather than it all feeling so perfectly polished. Somebody posted something the other day and it was so well done that I thought it was AI. And I was like, that's also dangerous, because it wasn't AI. It was just them trying to do nice photos. And I said to them, I was like, I honestly thought it was AI. And I then judge you for posting AI stuff, but it wasn't.
I know. It's an absolute minefield that we all find ourselves in at the moment, where we're just questioning everything.
Life.
Is that real or is that AI generated? Okay, I want to change direction a little bit and talk briefly about podcasts, especially as you said earlier that you're not a big podcast listener, but for some reason you decided to start a podcast. And again, not a lot of people are brave enough to take that step. Not a lot of people will put the work in to do it. So tell me the story. What made you think, I'm going to launch a podcast?
My husband is big into podcasts. He's the YouTube listener, podcast, like all of that. So he was like, you need to do a podcast. I was like, fine. I love talking. I like talking about myself. I like talking about weddings. Let's do a podcast. At the same time, somebody else in the industry that I had worked with also wanted to do a podcast. And we were like, let's just do it together. Let's half the stuff. So we started the Unfiltered Bride. We both had followers, which helped. But what we did both do is invest money into it to get the microphones, the headphones, the camera equipment. I did not want to do it badly. I didn't want to do it half-assed. We were going in hard or not at all. Again, it's got to be the best or I'm not doing it, that kind of thing. That podcast did fantastically. I would argue it was apart from Newlyweds, the biggest wedding podcast that was on at the time. We got to sort of over 3 million downloads. We did live events. We did tours. It was great. We stopped that one. The only person I'll ever go into business again is my husband. That's all I'll say on the matter. But I didn't want to stop doing a podcast. I loved making it. I loved the support of I would meet people at weddings that they know they're like, I listen to every episode of the podcast. We're doing this. You've helped so much. Like that kind of, I thrive on that. I'm not money driven. I'm kudos driven. I like constant praise.
Adulation. You just want us to tell you how great you are.
I want you to tell me constantly how great I am. But I knew I was helping people. That's genuinely always been the kind of aim for Georgina Rose Events. It's never gone to like luxury weddings. I don't want to do that. I want normal people and I want to genuinely help people. So when that other podcast ended, I didn't want to stop doing it, but issues. So I was like, said to my husband, let's just make a new podcast and it will come out the following week. And it was there. So the one podcast, The Unfiltered Bride, ended on the Wednesday. And within the week, we had the next one ready to go. Like, that's the kind of, I think that's the attitude bit. Like, I was really upset when the podcast ended. It was a massive thing. It was part of my identity at that point. And for it to kind of be taken away, I was like, I'm not having that. We'll make our own one and we'll do it how we want to do it. And it will be all for us this time. And it'll be, I can go hard on how much effort I put into it because I don't need anyone to match that effort. I've not got like this kind of annoyance that maybe someone's not doing as much as the other. So we just went hard. We made the branding with the first episode, painted the office, got everything ready literally within 72 hours. So that was something goes wrong. I was allowed to be sad for the day and then I just get on with it now. And now the new podcast has the same sort of numbers that the Unfiltered Bride was bringing in. and it's all mine. So consistency is probably the biggest factor of it. I think, like you said about people being scared, I think it's having the balls to do it properly, investing where if you think you're worth it, investing the time and the money, but also the consistency. We have not missed a week of a podcast for over 3 years. So whether that's that first one, I think we filmed on a Sunday night. I didn't want to work on a Sunday night. It's probably one of the only weekends I had off, but it is what it is. And now it's a case of maybe we'll film 2 in a day, but I'm never missing a week of a podcast. I'm in too deep now.
Absolutely. And I'm a bit like that too. I've never missed a week of this podcast. It's been every week since it began. And I think that's an important mindset. You know, if people do notice things like that. It might,
100%.
Even if you're at the most stressed you've ever been, people notice. It's like when you go to watch a TV show and it doesn't show, you think, well, where's it gone? Like, your whole week's been built around that TV show and it's gone. And we don't know other people's patterns. We don't know when they're listening to our podcast. But actually, if it's not there, what they'll do, they'll go and listen to something else. So,
and then you've lost them. That was our biggest thing, was making sure that we started that next episode the day that the other podcast should have, because why not was the kind of thought of it. But also I had people messaging being like, I walk my dog every Wednesday morning and it's part of the like, I'm not going to ruin your routine. I'll be there. Like, I'm going to show up. So it was that kind of, like you said, the mindset of it is just so important. You just have to get started and then it all gets easier. You just do the first step and then it all keeps going. And then now I'm just in competition with myself of, I'm not going to not do one because otherwise I've ruined it for myself. It's like a streak. It's like I'm in nearly 300 days on Duolingo. I'm not even bloody learning anything, but I'm too deep in this streak.
I think we're very similar. I think we're very similar people, because I also am very deep into my Duolingo streak. And my husband just keeps saying to me, just give it up. It doesn't matter.
No,
I'm like,
absolutely not.
It does matter to me. It really matters to me. I do not want to let myself down, even though I'm still probably only learning the very basics of French. I will keep.
I'm also doing French. I went to France recently and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm on level 20 and I don't know what you're saying. Unless you ask me like the weather. Weirdly, that doesn't come up in topic quite often.
It's very clever marketing from these people though. And it perfectly fits people with a personality like us. I think, without going deep into the discussion about your previous podcast into this podcast, I do think there's one important thing to highlight, because quite often I have clients come to me with ideas. I want to start a podcast. I want to start an event. I want to start a wedding show. And almost always they say, I want to do it with this friend, this friend, this friend, this friend. And I always say to them, why don't you do it on your own? Why don't you do it on your own? And I often think a lot of it comes down to not believing they can, or confidence. But actually, you know, I've been in a business with someone else. I think if you're in a business with someone else, is the hardest thing to do unless you're married to them or related to them. And even then it can go wrong, because when it's just you can work as hard as you want and it's only you that's impacted. When there's someone else involved, there's always an imbalance, whatever happens. And whether it's on purpose or accidental, there is no way that you can match the same energy level. So do you think that's changed your own perspective now? You said you probably wouldn't ever go into another business. So if you were talking to one of my clients who are saying, we're going to start this wedding show, we're going to do it as friends, what would you say to them?
Don't be so stupid.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And look, I don't want to take anything away from how successful the podcast was, because it really was. And at points in it, we both were good at the bits we were doing. We had a contract, which if you are going to go into business with a friend, a contract is the be all and end all. But I just think, as much as, I mean, I didn't even know this person that well. We were kind of business friends, but you think you know someone and you don't, but they also change. They're in a different place in life than you are. They have new things that are going on. They've got new priorities, and you can't, unless they are benefited. So my husband benefits from how well we do. I benefit from how well he does. So we only want the best for each other. There's no jealousy. There's no because it's all a gain. When it's a friend or a person and you've got different kind of paths and different goals and things like that, it can be difficult to kind of align that. And it's not worth the arguments. It's an ongoing thing now that's just an effort for me that I just want to draw a line under, and I can't yet because there's legal stuff involved, and it's just an absolute ball ache. Whereas if it's my own, I can just go, I don't want to do this anymore. End of. So look, I'm cynical to it now, but don't go into business with anyone. You can do it on your own. And it's the sliding doors moment. I don't know what would have happened if I did it on my own. I don't obviously now we have 3 years of experience of making a podcast, so knew that doing it alone would be absolutely fine. Whereas at that point, it was a case of let's share the stress and the load. No one was really doing podcasts at that point either. So we didn't know who to look at, so just take the risk. I'd rather have 100% of something small than 50% and a lot of hassle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just asking yourself that question, if you're thinking about it, why do I think I need someone else to do it? Is it because I don't have the confidence? Because actually you probably can just run with it and do it yourself and make it successful. Now, you're clearly an early adopter kind of person. Again, your personality is very similar to mine. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be on TikTok. I'll do all of the things. So what do you think it is in your background, in your life, that has made you just be the person that's like, I'll just go and do that?
Undiagnosed ADHD. But I problem is I take these diagnoses very loosely. I think it's a personality trait. I think some people are my husband is honed in on one thing, that is the entire world at that point, and then he'll move on to the next. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I want 400 plates spinning all at the same time and just see what happens. So I think it's learning your personality for a start, understanding what you're good at doing, outsourcing the stuff you're not good at. I think that's quite a hard thing to acknowledge, that I know I'm not good at sitting down and concentrating on one thing for a really long period of time. So I'll get somebody else to do that. He does all the editing. He will make sure that bit is all done. I would just send it out into the world and hope for the best. I don't want to do that bit. I think the main bit is I just want to have the best life. I do have the thought in my head constantly of this. I decide whatever I want to do. I can decide if I take 3 months off and just do what, but I can decide if I work 16 hours that day. I think it's a kind of, when you've acknowledged that and when you've realized that I do believe quite heavily in manifestation. I do think that if you write down your goals, if you look at your goals every day, if you're working towards your goals, you're making the right decisions to do all these things, you are making the life that you want to do. And I just want to have a great time. I want to have a fun life. And I only want to do things that I want to do, even if they're hard. Like I'll do my 9 to 5 weddings because I know that it's on the path to the direction I want to be going. So yeah, I think it's just a positive mindset, hardworking, goal heavy, sprinkled with ADHD.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so good. So let's just take it back to TikTok just for a few minutes before we wrap up, because you were an early adopter of TikTok. You found huge success. In 2026, do you think it's too late for people in the wedding industry to jump on TikTok, or do you think there's absolutely an opportunity still there?
I almost don't want to encourage you guys to do it because I'm getting all the fish that are there, but there is. I did a video recently where it was the different wedding dress styles with hairstyles. It's on over 120 million views. It's so ridiculous. There's so many. There are 1.6 billion people that use TikTok every month. Are you telling me that there is not enough people to see your content that you think it's not worth going on TikTok because you're 5 years late? Like, that to me is mind blowing. And I think TikTok is the 3rd biggest search engine after Google and YouTube. It's got everyone who's getting married is on TikTok. All of the inspiration is on TikTok. They're literally scrolling on it, waiting for somebody to show them something. And I think it's one of those, why wouldn't you? What's the worst that's going to happen from putting some videos on TikTok? I do quite a lot of talks on TikTok, and my thing of it is always, it's cringy till it's successful. Back in 2020, I'm sure people watched my videos and thought, how embarrassing. And then they see that I'm going on a free cruise because Virgin will give me a cruise because I make a video for them. That's not cringy anymore, but you get what you put in. Like, just risk it. It's so worth, I'm so passionate about TikTok because it's changed my it genuinely has changed my entire life. And I don't say that lightly. I earn more money because of TikTok. I work with brands because of TikTok. I have more weddings because of TikTok. I get to go to cool events because of TikTok. I'm sure I'm on this podcast because I do well on TikTok. It's all of those things is all coming from that, just putting yourself out there. And what's the worst that's going to happen? I don't care if people don't like me anymore. I don't care if the content isn't right for everyone. I don't care if somebody thinks it's embarrassing, because I'm having a great time.
So let's talk about the negatives then, because I do think one of the biggest fears people have about TikTok is it is a bit of the Wild West. I've seen it a little bit myself in the smallest ways, but people can be horrible on there. People can be negative on there. People can say horrible things about how you look on there. I'm sure you've had absolutely all of it. How do you deal with that personally?
The first thing I think is that when they've commented, it's pushing the algorithm. So the first thing I see, I'm like, okay, cool. It's unfair for me to say that none of them affect me. There are definitely ones that, actually, there was a review on, this is not even TikTok, but a review on our podcast the other day where it was like 4 stars and it was like, I don't like it when Brian talks about his life. And I'm like, they almost annoy me more than, because I'm like, do you know how much time and effort this is? You're listening to this for free. You're getting, maybe you like 90% of it, like they're the ones that annoy me more than someone calling me fat on a TikTok video. I think you get out what you put in. So my husband does finance content. He knows when he starts a video saying, don't have a finance car, you're too poor, that you are asking for people to come back at you. Like if I put something on there that said, don't get married in a barn, I will expect people to then write saying, I'll get married wherever I want. Like you set your level of controversy that you want with it. So if you are worried, just don't do things that are controversial. You won't get as many views though, I will say that, because if you start a video with don't get married in a barn, you're going to get more people watch it. Delete and ignore, but all of the content as well. The reason, again, that dress video did well is because I'm saying, remember, this is the hairstyle you wear with the dress. And people are like, I'll wear my hair however I want to wear my hair. And I'm like, okay. But I didn't say you had to, didn't say. So it's kind of looking at it with a bit of humor. It happens on TikTok because they'll never see you. It would never happen to your face. People just get a bit brave and a bit ballsy, but you've also got to think, I'm putting my opinion out there, so they are allowed their opinion back. I would rather they scroll, but the comment helps. So you won't get the hate until you do stuff that's asking for it, and actually asking for it is what gets you the views. The views gets you the followers. So it's all a bit of a circle. It's a bit of a hate circle.
It's a bit of a vicious circle, and it's a place that if you feel like you can't handle it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do TikTok. You can listen to this entire episode and think, nah, TikTok's not for me. And that's absolutely fine, because ultimately, going back to what you said earlier, we start a business to do the things we love and to design the life we want. And so if that's not what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. But if other people do want to do that, let them. That's kind of my ethos at the moment.
Let them, yeah.
The controversial stuff, of course it's going to get more views. That's why people do it. Don't want to do controversial stuff? Fine, don't do it. You know, and I think we forget these trolls are sometimes people and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're bots. I had one where someone wrote this comment underneath me on one of my videos saying, you don't know anything. You're an unhelpful bint, or just something ridiculous. And so we actually in the moment recorded a reply to the comment, and I just recorded this being like, thank you so much. I'm sure that you've had more than this and you've written a book. I did this funny thing. And this guy then started writing back saying, you've embarrassed me. My granddaughter's seen this video and you've called me out. And I thought, Good. Why did you write that in the first place? I didn't tell you to write that comment. And I think sometimes we do need to point out to people, because these people, I don't know why they think. It's so much
content though. Like when I do see a negative, I'll make a video. I'll make a video back. Like we can go all day. And I've probably got more followers than you have. So my people will see you being horrible, not the other way around. So you've got to look at it as what it is. It is a social media platform where people are being social. They're saying their opinions, opening up for the kind of controversy on it. Just go for it. Like I promise you, if you're not, it's rare to get hate on stuff where you're just being normal. Here are the flowers that I made for this wedding. If you don't like blue, that's okay. I can do it in pink. Great. You won't get any hate, but it's a boring video.
Exactly. It's the Wild West out there. But the message is, if you want to do it, be brave, be confident, learn it. And also just be on the platform, scroll, see what you engage with, see what makes you stop and learn from it. Be a student before you try and put stuff out there. So in your wedding business, just to wrap up right now in 2026, I always like to ask people who are still working in the industry where they're actually getting inquiries from, because sometimes what people think is happening happening isn't the reality of what's happening. So if you were to look roughly at a picture of 2026, the weddings you've got coming in, where are they coming from?
I can literally tell you, actually.
Excellent.
So for this year to date, 30% comes from my podcast, 20% comes from Instagram, 20% comes from TikTok, 10% word of mouth, 6% supplier recommendations, 4% website, 2% Google, and the rest other.
Love it.
So I would say, what's that? 40% socials, 30% podcast. But the problem is, again, taking it with a pinch of salt, nobody found the podcast on its own first. So they've gone from the socials over to the podcast. So it's, I do take it all with a pinch of salt. It's not always exactly how that explains it to be.
No, but it all kind of works together as this beautiful picture, because all of these different things that you've grown and they're talking to each other is what then leads people to the booking, and what triggers that final inquiry is going to be different for everyone. Just a follow-up question then, because people are going to be like, wow, she had her stats to hand really quick. Gold star for Becca. How do you track stuff? Are you using a CRM system? Where is this information coming from?
Yeah, so I use Studio Ninja, and I'm shook by suppliers that don't have a CRM system or don't have, like, I've had it, I think, from when I first started, because what do you mean I'm using an Excel it does everything for me. It puts it in my calendar. It sends invoices. It tells me where all the stuff is coming from. It's worth the time of sitting down. It took me a good few hours, days to kind of get my head around everything. And now I couldn't live without it. What do you mean I have to remember to send an invoice? I don't want to do that. That does it. Again, I know the bits I'm not good at. I'm not good at remembering this stuff. So I'm going to outsource it and pay the minimal fee it costs to have that for being able to answer questions like that. If you'd asked me and I didn't have Studio Ninja, I literally wouldn't have a clue. And I think I'd be a bit delusional to it. I would have told you that like 90% comes from socials, when clearly it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, a lot of my one-to-one clients, when we sit down and have that conversation, they don't know the answer to that question. And again, that's one thing I'm trying to change, is to say to people, get the system, find out where things are coming from. Because if you do everything on feeling, you won't make smart business decisions. Georgie, this has been such a fun conversation. I could have spoken to you for another hour about all sorts of things, marketing and your background, but we have to draw it to a close. And I always end my podcast with the same question. So I'm going to ask you that now. And it's this: what's one thing you personally wish you'd known sooner in your own business?
To keep learning. I think a lot of suppliers get sort of set in their ways, and what they're doing is working fine. Don't rock the boat. Whereas I love going to like events where people are talking, or watching YouTubes where people are teaching me things, or just understanding a new social media platform, going on Substack. Don't even understand that one yet. But like, everything is changing every year. If we look at the difference between weddings before 2020 and post 2020, it's a world apart from each other. And I just think if you stay stagnant, then you will stay stagnant, and that's okay. And there's quite a I don't know where I heard it, but there's a saying that's I use it with my friend as more of a push to do something better, is if you're okay where you are, that's fine. For some people, they're like, cool. For me, that is triggering. I don't want to be okay. I don't want to be where I am. I don't want to stay anywhere. So for me, it's like that little push of like, if you're okay and you're happy with what you're doing, then that's fine. I want more. I don't think it's a bad thing to always want more. I think that's the point of life. Otherwise, why just stop then? Just let it all be happy with it. Just keep it. You can be happy and still want more. I think that's important. And that all comes from learning and bettering yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And these platforms and these technologies are changing all of the time. And if you're not someone that is willing to keep learning and keep educating, I mean, even for you, TikTok, the algorithm will constantly be changing. If you're not keeping up with that, then it's very easy to slip back and someone else will come and overtake you.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely right. You've got to keep on learning, but go back to what we said earlier, learning from the right people and not from the wrong people. Otherwise you'll go in the wrong direction. Georgie, it's been such a pleasure. If people want to find out more about you, about your podcast, about your business, where are the best places for them to find you?
Ironically, you'll find me on TikTok. No, TikTok and Instagram is Georgina Rose Events. And then the podcast is The Secret Society of Brides. And that can be found on all major streaming platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. You know the spiel.
Like and subscribe. We sound like
like, subscribe, comment. Thank you.
True marketers. I will make sure I put all of your links in the show notes so people can go and find them. Thank you so much. And I just want to end this podcast by just reiterating to you one more time. This isn't luck. You've got an incredible marketing brain. You've put the work in and you're keeping pushing forward. So if anyone else tells you that you're lucky to get where you've got to, send them to me and we'll have words. Georgie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a great conversation. I loved hearing more about the success that Georgie's had in her wedding business across her podcast, her book, and all the other exciting things that she's done. And I think that message needs to resonate with you. It's not luck. It's about putting in the work and being brave and stepping outside of your comfort zone. So if you're not happy with where you are right now, what steps are you going to take to push yourself forward? I'll see you all next time.